Freaking out, man. You can't handle the truth. You can't handle the truth.
What do all men with power want? More power.
My name is Luca Zanna. I was an Italian by birth, and I became an American by choice. Our lives and freedoms are in danger. This is not a drill. If you're listening to this broadcasting, you are the resistance.
All systems go.
Welcome to Love, Guns, and Freedom. Here we go, guys and girls. Welcome to another Love, Guns, and Freedom. Today is Sunday, of course, and my name is Luca Zanna. I'll be your host. As you know, every Sunday I try to bring you always new ideas, more important, new information that hopefully can give you the education to make your own decision. Yes, without knowledge, there is no power. Of course, knowledge, in my opinion, must be followed by action. But the idea that whoever controls the knowledge in centuries, since the beginning of history, the elite always wanted to control the knowledge because their masses would be easier to control. Nothing really changed since the time of the Egyptians or the Romans or any other empire. Whoever is in control of knowledge can dominate, even just with a small, minority, can dominate the rest of the population. Now, where am I going? Last year, I had an incredible guest that I really was happy to have here. Remember, this is a local radio show, K-Talks 1340 AM. Of course, now also we rebroadcast on 104.1 FM. And of course, we have, through the internet, many, many more listeners. But at the end, it's just a local show. And when I have international guests like him, like last year I had, it's really good because I really want to bring you this type of guest to give you a little wider opinion or even view what's going on around the world. This is not just anymore about Arizona or Mojave County or Needles, California or Laughlin, Nevada. This is about now what's happening around the world to a free humanity. So I have here the honor to have with me a guest that is not just a regular guy like me. He's somebody that has been an insider at different levels, in different situations, in different, let's say, societies. And he's also a book author. He had more than 18 books, I guess. I bought a few of them, and I'm still reading them, by the way. And he's from Rome, the city where I was born. And of course, where I was, where I left. And his name is Leo Zagami. By the way, now I'm glad because my accent is not going to be anymore my British accent alone, but I'm going to have Leo with his British accent, I've been sarcastic here, with me. Leo, are you there?
Hello, everybody. Pleasure being with you again, Gianluca. And I hope that our listeners will enjoy our different form of English with our maybe... accent being not the usual you get, of course, on American radio. But I hope that the concepts that we will put through today will reach you loud and clear, nevertheless.
Yes, by the way, last interview was very powerful. Even with, sometimes, as I said, our accent is not exactly the easier to understand. But by the way, we received some compliments. I couldn't believe it on YouTube. People like it somehow. I couldn't believe it. But more important, the message, the information that you were displaying and were trying to share, that was very important. So this is about knowledge. It's about what's going on behind the scenes. Because, we always been given the first line of knowledge. That means mostly they're lies, like we've proven right now with the media. Now, you are a book author, but you're more than just a book author. You are part of... I want you to tell them, who are you? Who is Leo Zagami, briefly, before we start into more specific questions? Who are you?
Well, I'm somebody who was born, let's say, in a very creative setup and also in a very particular background. And because of this, I guess I was privileged to have access to certain kind of information, to a certain kind of reality later on in life. I am nowadays a writer, as you said before. I'm also, though, a grandmaster of a Masonic order, and I preside over what is known as the good side of the Illuminati, at least here in Italy. And I try to bring out of the closet of this reality, which is very hermetic, some truths, and with my books making them more clear to also those people who are not necessarily initiated in some secret or an esoteric cult that can be sometimes very complex and also not reachable for everybody. So I try to make this inside knowledge a little bit more open, but of course respecting the sacrality of all this information and putting it through with the respect it deserves. So I think I'm doing a different kind of book altogether. Yesterday, or actually a couple of days ago, I was guested by a friend of mine called Chris Everard on his radio show, and we were talking. I have been also on his TV, Enigma TV, where I produce different documentaries, and we talked about the importance of these books because these books come from somebody with an inside knowledge, which is not usually found out there, because you have the conspiracy theories, but most of these researchers are people who simply are viewing this reality from the outside. This is very, brings you, of course, only part of the truth. You can never understand the whole prospect and also the inside game, because you have to have an understanding, a knowledge, and years of study to understand the initiation into the real Illuminati, also the dark side of these secret societies, why they're doing it, who is really behind them. Now, in volume 1, which we discussed the last time I was on your radio show, I kind of described the whole topology, the whole structure, hierarchy of these secret societies, when instead in volume 2 I started to explain to the public what is happening right now in this moment of great tribulation, this time of revelation, which is of course for some in Judeo-Christian setups the end of times. Mm-hmm. And this scenario of course coincides with all sorts of catastrophic events. And now it's the dawn also of a new era which will follow all this destruction and this pain. So we are in a moment of tribulation, but later on, hopefully, the good side will prevail eventually. At the moment, the evil side is prevailing, but is prevailing because they have in their hands most of the materialistic realm, and Satanism, Hollywood, and the Illuminati is a chapter of volume 2 of my Confessions, which is particularly important. And I think it's particularly important nowadays when we saw with the election of Donald J. Trump, the great opposition that is coming from Hollywood and their Illuminati and all the satanic lot, which is really trying to come together, even in the open, attacking the new president, which of course is continuing in his program, in his mission, which we hope will go very well for him. Also here from Europe, from Italy.
Let me ask you something, Leo. Let me ask you something. First of all, this is something fascinating. Even I've been reading your books, at least some of your books, and I've tried to study about this. But I always have this question. Probably you may say, that's $1 million question, maybe $1 trillion question, but I need to ask it to you anyway. And I know probably you would, a year on the show, it wouldn't be enough to explain it. Probably you could never explain it anyway. But the question is, and you say what you can, what is really the purpose of an organization like the Illuminati in 2017, in this century? What is exactly the purpose? Is the same purpose there was when it was created? And according to your knowledge, when was really created? Because I think it's ancient, that just what they say, 1776 or whatever with Weishaupt. What exactly when it was really all these organizations started from? And what is exactly the goal? I mean, after all, I'm sure it takes a lot of your time, energy. I mean, you've been doing this since you were a younger guy. You don't do this by accident, but it's still something you wanted to do, or maybe you were born to do. But what is the point? What is the goal? What exactly you try to accomplish? You get together, you have a little bit of fun time with your friends, or maybe you just talk about interesting topics. Is a business connection? I'm just trying to play devil's advocate, or at least try to see what the average person out there may think. The average person says, what is he talking about? The Illuminati. What is like the illumination from the light bulbs? I mean, what exactly do you do, guys?
Well, I mean, there's a lot of questions that you have kind of scrambled into one. But
I know, but
take one at a time.
Yes.
I would say that the Illuminati, of course, goes back a long time before 1776, and for that reason, I think that Volume 1 of my Confessions is a whole book really dedicated to where and who are these Illuminati and what is really the Illuminati network made of various names, some of them very obscure, some of them never heard from the majority of the public out there. Because we're talking here about the ancient mystery schools that started at the beginning of time and continued carrying on these mysteries, some of them on the dark side, some of them on the light side. Why do you do it? The same as the angels do their job to protect God and, of course, creation. The same thing the Satanist and Satan itself does with his demons, protecting, of course, the lower infernal realms. I, of course, side on the angelic realm. So I do it for the possibility in the future of establishing the kingdom of God as it was prophesied, because this is what the real Knights Templar should be doing. In reality, the Knights Templar were, of course, then alterated during the course of time when they were not anymore the official order into something different. The official order ends up with Jacob de Molay. Everything that comes later on is Neo-Templarism, and this can take different overtones, some more Jesuitic, other more occultistic and blatantly satanic. Though the Jesuits are the ultimate Satanists, they seem to be also the ultimate scientists. So they manipulate knowledge, they manipulate sacred knowledge that, of course, we know the Vatican has in their archives, but not only the Vatican, you see. So you said, what do these people do? Meet up to share what kind of knowledge? Secret knowledge that is circulated among privileged individuals. This is,
for example, is it true? You know, for example, I was studying some sources.
But it's also true there is the majority of Freemasonry in the US, in the average town, which is just no more, no less than any other club, social club with no, just maybe a particular esoteric, very, very light esoteric approach, which you have in the first 3 degrees. Of course, then we know the biggest rite, the most powerful rite in the US is the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, and they have a history of indulging in a more esoteric approach later on.
I mean, for example, you know, our founding fathers here in America, many of them, they were deist. That means they believe, you know, in deity, and more important, they were Freemasons. I mean, George Washington. The first president, at least, wasn't really the first president, but you know, the first official president of the Republic. So there was somehow. Also, he said that George Washington, he was worried.
Good side to Freemasonry. There is good people to Freemasonry, people that have been able to establish the United States of America are themselves good Freemasons. And there has been, unfortunately, a conspiracy within Freemasonry to corrupt Freemasonry eventually from within. But that's why there is different, at the moment, different Masonic institutions fighting each other, mostly under three main currents that are guided by England, by France, but also by a new good side of the Illuminati and Freemasonry that wants to, and it's actually coming from Romania, which at the moment Romania is very important because they also hold the head position in the world regular lodges as a secretary general of this organization. So there is, though, in regular Freemasonry, a lot of ignorance regarding what is really happening in Europe, especially amongst the average US Freemason. That's why we hope in the future, with my books, also with my publications and stuff, to clear up certain points that might be of confusion for those who study more closely the phenomenon. Let's say that in Europe, in the last few months, it seems like there is really a growing side of Freemasonry that wants to go on the good side, wants to join the battle of Donald J. Trump, wants to support the new U.S. president.
But more important, it's not just the press, it's about the agenda to be defending and keeping your nation free and sovereign. Because at least what we know, the global plan...
It's very complex. It's not only a question of sovereignty,
of course
the sovereignty, but that's... first of all, the liberal agenda, full of Satanism. We saw what kind of person John Podesta is. We saw what kind of person Hillary Clinton is, a real witch. I mean, we are talking here about Luciferians, Satanists, more than Luciferians, blatant Satanists that are ready to do evil on a massive scale and that have connections with the satanic realm, real connections. We're not talking here about made-up connections, proven connections that have come up and also quite, in the arena of all the media during the elections. It was quite obvious that there was something strange going on with these emails that said strange things from time to time.
It's more than that. There's been a real lot of proof and evidence that there is a circle of pedophiles, not just in Washington, but all over Europe, especially, different families that they are very much into power, not just regular people.
Absolutely. We saw how the Clinton Foundation has been covering up in Haiti for certain things. And we can say really that the liberals are in bed with the worst Satanists. And this is definitely also not only outside of the Vatican, but also inside the Vatican, because the Vatican is the big supporter with the Jesuits of this liberal agenda. They were really hoping in Hillary as their president. And that moment, of course, Pope Francis, which is destroying the Catholic Church, placing it in the hands of the Satanists, will have won completely.
Yeah, and speaking about the Pope, for me this is like almost the Antichrist, or at least close to something that I don't even recognize. And I'm a former Catholic, doesn't matter. But this guy is out of control. I mean, seriously, among the old Pope I remember, this is completely the Pope that is serving the final plan to try to, let's say, completely finalize this part of globalism. I mean, the Pope that says that all gods are the same, and he completely goes against some basic foundation of Catholicism. What exactly do you think about him right now? Is it finalizing the plan? Is changing direction, and now the Trump is there? You wrote a book about. Give us a little bit about your final analysis of what this Pope is doing.
Well, yes, I wrote a book, Pope Francis, the Last Pope, ? Which was actually a great success also in the US and continues to be, and inspired also a documentary with Alex Jones that we did in Rome. I think that since then, everything I made public through my book manifested in the open. It was an article only a few days ago in USA Today about the sexual orgies and all these strange things happening within the Vatican that are bringing scandal and disrepute to the whole agenda of the Pope, which of course the Pope in the meantime is very busy opening up and trying to get the Muslims with them, in bed with them and all the rest. Sorry a second, I have to stop here.
No problem.
If you can put a pause a second so I can...
No problem. Anyway, we're here with Leo Zagami from Rome. This is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns and Freedom. It's very important information because I said sometimes we live in our own reality. We just go to work, we get up in the morning, and we think pretty much this is life. We elect some people out there. Sometimes we're happy with the election, sometimes not. But the reality is there is another world behind what we can see. A world that made of, let's say, a very occult and, let's say, elite group of people who can control government, who can pretty much control politicians like little puppets. And through them, they set the agenda, the global agenda, that's going to change your life in a practical way. I mean, things don't happen by accident. When you start to see that you cannot own any more property, or they want to force a vaccine into you, or maybe, the price of oil is skyrocketing, and any other things that also change your lifestyle or your freedom, don't happen just because somebody is crazy. There is a plan. Some plans that are really long term, and some plans that are scary plans. Go ahead.
This plan has been in motion for hundreds of years, and we can say that this plan in the end is manifesting now, because with the technology that is in place can fully manifest, bringing really that reign of bestiality and of satanism that is obvious to everybody that sees how people like George Soros operate and his open society, and how he really has manipulated for decades the universities that have become basically recruiting ground and brainwashing territory for thousands, millions of students who at the end find themselves always thinking for this liberal agenda and basically getting outraged later on by the election of finally a president who doesn't fit their scheme of things, which is Donald J. Trump. You understand this, Zanna? This is the point of it. They have in their hands the educational system. And that is a big problem in the US and in the rest of the world.
Everywhere. We have a question, because I always say, at the end of the day, President Trump is just a man. And he has family. He can be rich anywhere. I mean, as much as you are the president of the United States, I mean, remember JFK. I mean, they just need to, if they want to dispose him, they can dispose him. And I know maybe this is not the right time, but even if they don't want to dispose him, they can always say, by the way, if you don't play ball with us, you got your daughter out there, we can reach your son, we can reach your wife. I wonder, in your opinion, because they really, I think they are, at the beginning I wasn't sure, but now I start to realize that they really, for them, is a pain in the butt. It may not be perfect, but guess what? It's really becoming the pain in the butt of the globalists. At least looks like is slowing down all their agenda that they fought so hard lately. Why you don't think they already give him some sort of, ultimatum? Say, you better stop doing this, or we're going to kill you, or we're going to do terrible things to your family. Why you think he's still there?
Because he is himself born into the establishment. He's never been an outsider. He's somebody who has been in the inside. I see the way he operates as a very personal way of saying, okay, guys, now it's my turn, but I'm going to do things my way. Really following that famous song, and it's a way of somebody who, of course, wants to go against the system because they know very well the system. They have been part of it. So he has also a daughter, Ivanka, which is married with a prominent Jewish person. Which also gives the possibility of an even stronger alliance now with Israel. And in Israel, there is now a war between Netanyahu, which of course represents a certain conservative faction, but then you have the opposition, which is of course driven by the Rothschilds, who, as you know, are considered the fathers of the nation in a way, because of the large financing of this whole project, Zionist project, from the beginning. But the thing is that things have changed. I mean, this liberal agenda is so much against religion. We have seen ourselves during the whole campaign of Hillary and against Trump, how inconsistent Hillary could be on the religious front, because they don't have an agenda. Their own agenda is just to discredit, in the end, any religion they infiltrate, like they try to infiltrate every possible religion to then unify it in this kind of new age one-world religion, which the Pope is trying to preside.
Yes.
The Pope now, of course, is the biggest enemy of Donald J. Trump. A few days ago, Sosa, which is the new general of the Jesuits from Venezuela, a man, of course, of Pope Francis, another South American, but also another Jesuit, and the third one to take the position while still the first one who resigned is still alive, which is Hans Kovenbach. So this is the era of the three generals, and who knows if in the future it will not become the era of the three popes, because at the moment the Jesuits have been dictating this trend. And so basically Sosa made a direct attack on Donald Trump. He made a direct attack saying that he promotes anti-Christian values. Now, Jesuits attacking Donald Trump, saying something like this, I think it's clear now, like it was clear 200 years ago, that the enemy is always one, the order of the Jesuits, and you have to understand how dangerous they are, because by controlling universities like Georgetown University and many others, like I explained in volume 1 of my Confessions, which you can find on CCC Publishing in the US, it's basically they control also the intelligence community, because a lot of these universities, Jesuit universities in the US, are used by the US intelligence community to recruit for their various agencies. So you see that the Jesuits are very powerful. They don't only have their own knowledge, which is superior to every other, because in Ad Spezia, like I explained in volume 3 of my Confessions, which is about to come out in the next couple of months in the US. In Ad Spezia, you have the biggest archive possible on intelligence activities, superior even to the CIA one. And this was actually written by an Italian publication written by the Parliament.
Wow, it's very interesting. Now, question is, I know that, the plan, at least for what we can see, part of the plan from outside, it was especially in Europe. I mean, look, Europe. I mean, I have still family there. I'm freaking out, okay? I'm trying to bring everybody out if I can. But it's like completely living in a nightmare. When you see a country that is no more the country where you were born, you see that the law, it doesn't apply anymore to anybody, to everybody, but just apply to the slaves. Pretty much, Italian people must pay every tax, must comply with every law. And then there is a chosen race. They bring them in by the truckloads or by the ships. And of course, they're allowed to do whatever they want, take over. I mean, look in Sweden. I'm freaking out about Sweden, Denmark, Italy itself, with this, like they call it a refugee. I call it an invasion. And if I was in Italy right now, probably just because I speak like that, I could be punished under so many European laws. I would call hate speech just because I express my opinion. But my point is, how do you see how the Italian people or the European people can finally stop this invasion that, after all, is just a continuation of the Kalergi plan that I'm sure you're very aware of it? Is there a chance, is there a hope for an awakening and to somehow stop this slaughter, this genocide of the European nations and the European people? What do you think?
Well, I mean, we have a few elections coming up in the next few months. One immediately happening now in Holland, very important for the possibility of a right-wing sovereign, of course, party based on the sovereignty of Holland, which will put in serious crisis Europe, because Holland is very important for Europe, of course. And then we will have the elections probably of Marine Le Pen in France. At that point, if Marine Le Pen is also elected, we can consider the European Union as a project on the way out. At that point, it will completely fail to have any relevance, future relevance, because we will see Donald J. Trump arriving in Europe at this point because he has to do the G7 summit in Sicily at the end of May, in a situation in which probably he will find the whole of Europe in a crisis. Yeah. And that's when Donald Trump needs to invest not only his, let's say, time by coming to Europe, but some possible resources to finance these parties that are all over Europe regaining the sovereignty of the territory for their people. If Donald J. Trump understands this and does what his predecessors have done, as you remember, Luca, the time in which after the Second World War, the CIA, the OSS before invested a lot of money and resources on anti-communism. We are in a situation which requires a new plan in which we have to fight communism and Islam, which is the right hand of communism.
I'm just afraid that it's kind of late, because they already dropped millions of these elements. By the way, I'm not a right wing, I'm not a left wing. I just believe that every country.
But here is a question. It's not a question of of all the views left, right.
No, exactly.
But because these views still exist in the political arena.
No, I understand. I understand. I'm just trying to explain to my listener. The point is not about left or right. It's about to be logical. You want to survive. You want to keep your nation sovereign. You want to be your freedoms. You don't want to become like a third world country. That's what it's about. And that's what Europe is completely lost. I mean, I look in Italy now. I was watching some videos from the news. I was watching some videos in Sweden how they rape in public these poor women, also men. They beat them up, and it's like almost living in a horror movie, and it's real. And the politicians, they don't want to let you talk about it. And this is something that I hope is not too late, because meanwhile all this happens, how many of these refugees already come there, and when they in. They really mean business. They can crank out 5 or 6, 7 kids. Like the ratio is 1 to 7 compared to the European average couple. And in 20 years from now, they will take over. And that's why I'm afraid of the word democracy, because they can put you in Italy. Of course, it is not like a republic like supposed to be here. Even here, they try to change it. 51% of their votes can tell you how you can live your life. I mean, look now in England, like in London, the new mayor, he doesn't like the advertisement billboards with the beautiful women. Guess what? You cannot do that anymore because it's against Islam. So that's what I'm really concerned. You live in Rome. How you see Rome change in the last 20 years? Or at least, let's say, the last 10 years. Because I didn't come there in more than 11 years. I'm missing from 2005, I guess. How it's changed?
Well, it's changed a lot in certain areas, like on the Casilina, in the quartiere you used to know, maybe this quartiere called Tor Pignatara, which is basically it used to be lived mostly by Sicilians, people from Calabria, southern Italy, immigrants from the south. Yeah. Now this whole area has been taken over by the Muslims.
Wow.
So this area taken over by the Muslims means that you see everything that you see in a typical Muslim area elsewhere in other places in Europe. They're all the same, these areas. They are ghettos where there is not much control from the police, from the Italian authorities. And well, it's pretty sad because you are basically in Rome, and you know how close Tor Pignatara is to the center areas, like to San Giovanni, to San Lorenzo, or even at a really close distance from the main university in Rome. But I can send you, if you want, a link from an article written by the Huffington Post. And published in back in 2 years ago.
Yes.
And this article basically says that a Tor Pignatara comanda l'Islam.
Wow.
So basically, Islam
rules.
Controls the whole area of Rome, and this is very disturbing, very worrying for a lot of Romans.
And people want to understand that. Normally I don't even talk about religion on my show. I couldn't care if you worship the cat or the dog. It's your business, okay? But there is a problem where I draw the line. When you have a religion that spells it out on their book or books, and is proven by history, like centuries of violence, okay, that their goal is to dominate you, to convert you by force, and if they don't convert you, you're going to become a B citizen, paying a tax, in this case the DIMA, or whatever they call it, otherwise they chop your head. Simple as that. And that's proven. I have a big problem, and I never will shut up, because this is not just a religion compatible with anybody else. No, that's a religion, theocracy, of course, that also want to change your lifestyle, want to change the way you live life. It's like living under the Middle Ages, of course, or the world's more violent cult. So that's my point. Once they take over, these bastards, it is not more about, okay, kumbaya, let's get all together, you do your stuff, I do my stuff. No, they will tell you how to live your life. They will tell you if you can have sex, how can you have sex. They will tell you how your wife or how your woman or any woman can dress, where she can go, what food you can eat, if you can drink or not. I mean, that's scary. That's scary. And I had a dream, Leo, I didn't tell you. About 10 years ago, I had a dream that I was in my, little older, let's put it this way, maybe in late 60s. And I was in Rome, and I came back after many, many years. And I was looking at the Tiber, the Tiber, El Tevere. And there was, the typical little shops that used to be there offering coffee on the Tiber or some sort of a bar. And I was asking, I said, what's going on here? I don't see any more crosses on the churches. And, and I'm not really a church-going guy. I mean, I believe in God, but I'm not a typical church-going guy. I don't believe in organized religion. But anyway, I still was surprised I couldn't see any more crosses around Rome. And the woman said, hey, be silent, don't speak too loud, they may hear you. I said, ooh. Then after I turned around, I started to see a population I couldn't recognize anymore. And then I realized, oh my God, they took over. And that was in 2005. 2005, and I had not much idea what's going on really in Italy at the time with all this Islam stuff. And then I felt a sense of sadness. I went back to my hotel, whatever it was, very dark environment, and I went to sleep. Maybe I was dead. I don't know. Maybe I was going to die that day. Thank God, probably. I couldn't handle it anymore. But I say, this is so sad. Almost like a glance of the future if we don't stop it. And that's why I believe, it's so important what you're doing through your books. Try to expose their plans. And everybody of us, in every country, this is not just an Italian or European problem. It's a world problem. Can we give your website, Leo? Because I want people going to your website, check out what you do. You have 18 books out there. It's a great information. Give your website, please.
Yes, you can get my books on Amazon and also at Barnes & Noble. And of course, the publishing company, CCC Publishing, has also a website, which I invite you to visit. And you can also order my books directly from there. And then you have my official website, which is www.leozagami.com, which I carry on in both Italian and English. But I mean, most of the time it's in Italian because I do a lot of work with it that is focusing on the political scene also in Italy, as well as the Masonic one. Mm-hmm. But of course, I invite people to always check it out because from time to time there is some interesting post also in the English language. And of course, there are my books in the English language. Now we had Pope Francis the Last Pope Question Mark, which was a large success, followed by volume 1 and 2 of my Confessions. And to terminate the trilogy, there will be in June volume 3, published always by CCC Publishing, which I invite you to read because it's really focus on this great battle involving also Donald J. Trump, everything that is happening behind the scenes in the Illuminati, in the Knights Templars, in the various bloodlines. And also in the Vatican. In fact, the subtitle of this book is Templars Espionage in the Shadow of the Vatican.
Wow.
So there is a lot of that also. And I must say that lately in Italy, there is a new Masonic scandal which is hitting the media because the government has started a massive investigation on the mafia lodges in Sicily and Calabria, the ones connected to the mafia. Mm-hmm. So they have demanded for months the Masonic authorities, the main Masonic lodges and Grand Lodges, to give their list of Masons, but they wouldn't. So in the end, they had to intervene forcibly. I went in Sicily, though, and with the group representing 1,200 Masons, we were actually positive about giving our names, our list without any problem, because we think that is the future, to be transparent and not have anything to hide. For the good Masons, don't have anything to hide because they are good Masons.
Wow, interesting. I didn't know that. I have just a simple question. I read the book, or at least I read. I was trying to finish.
You can actually read about this. See also some pictures of things in my website, leozagami.com. So I invite you to have a look at it. Because for the first time in history, Gianluca, and you will see how important it is. I will send you the link.
Yes.
A Grand Master from Sicily in open lodge condemned both Satanism and mafia infiltration of Masonic lodges, and we did this in Sicily, and it was a Grand Master called Corrado Labisi, who is a professor and now is the head of a university.
Wow.
So,
I have a question for you. Albert Pike, I read the book, I was trying to finish the book, a kind of a big book, Morals and Dogma. Okay, Albert Pike, I think, is one of the institution of, let's say, Scottish.
Well, institution of the Scottish
Rite,
ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, which
yes.
is one of the rites of Freemasonry, not the whole.
Yeah, exactly, exactly. I want your opinion. He brings up in different pages the word Lucifer, the light bearer. And he talks like in a positive way. What do you think about that? Because from a Christian point of view, may say, wait a second, maybe Lucifer, we look at that like something that's not exactly positive, but also the way he looks at that is like some sort of illumination, some sort of the light bearer. What is your position on Albert Pike?
I warn very clearly in my books about the figure of Lucifer and why there can be a lot of confusion, especially people like Albert Pike, which had an understanding of Hermeticism, of occult philosophy. They tend, of course, to be quite cryptic in their explanations, but also misunderstood very often by people who don't understand because they are in the outside of things. I personally don't really support the view of Albert Pike because in the end, for me, the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite, I like the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite before the actual formation of the Charleston Council, so a more pure form of the Scottish Rite, which was more Christian, more close to the roots. Later on, it became also, of course, Pike is viewing all this in a pagan way, because he was a pagan. I mean, if you read that book, Dogmas and
Moral Dogma,
it's quite clear that he's a pagan, he's not a Christian, no?
Yes.
While instead, my Masonic formation is Christian, so we come from two different parts of
approaches.
That's why it's very important for people to understand that Freemasonry is not a monolithic society with the one view, but it's just like the parliament full of political parties that fight each other. The same thing is Freemasonry, even if it's done in a much more reserved and secretive manner. But of course, Albert Pike, in his description of Lucifer, describes it as Satan or as something negative, because he's simply viewing Lucifer as a sort of Prometheus who flies too high and then tends to burn himself because he's too close maybe to the light at that point. I
see. Very important information. I'm glad you explained this, because sometimes people think, hey, they're all the same. They're Masons. No, they're different type of families, different type of branches, like in the parliament, as you were saying. Now, last thing I want to say, I want to give you the floor. Pretty much whatever you want to say I didn't touch, you got 3 minutes. I'll give you the floor.
Well, completing this work, that we started by talking about the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. It is a very complex subject because this is the rite that is more popular in the US. A lot of people focus the whole of their Masonic knowledge upon this rite, and it's wrong, because Freemasonry, as we said, is made out of various traditions. So you had, before the Scottish Rite, the strict observance, which is, for example, the rite which I preside, which existed before the Scottish Rite, and it's totally Christian, and it's never has practiced any form of occultism. And this is clear. You can even check yourself on Wikipedia at the voice strict observance, and it says it very clearly. This was this way already 3 centuries ago, as well as today. While instead we have also occult Freemasonry, but that's not even the ancient and accepted Scottish Rite. There is this Egyptian rites of Freemasonry, so-called Egyptian rites, which are very much versed in occultism, and some of them, of course, we had Aleister Crowley, entered the realm of Satanism and gave a big impact also in modern Satanism. There is a very big link between the so-called Egyptian rites of Freemasonry that derive from Cagliostro all the way to Satanism. There is kind of like un filo conduttore.
Like a connection. Any death threats lately? I'm always surprised when you write all these books and all this information, somebody maybe doesn't like you and you start to have some serious death threats. Anything you can share?
Well, there has been in the past. I fought a long war. I've been arrested for espionage for my website, and I understood really that if I had to put the truth down, the most safe way of doing it is actually doing it on paper, because destroying all the books is much more difficult than destroying all the files.
You're right. That's very true. You can delete everything pretty fast. Listen, Leo, I really appreciate your time, and congratulations for your books, your work, and whatever you're doing in Europe and all over the world, because now it's not anymore what you do. You're in Italy, but unfortunately, this is sad. I think it was Dante says so. Nobody, nessuno è profeta in patria. Nobody is a prophet in their own country. You're getting much more, let's say, opportunity to share your message outside Italy. Seems like Italy really, they try to block everything you do, everything you say. Am I right or wrong?
Well, every now and then I get on TV for a few minutes here and there, but they censor me all the way. I mean, it's like really sad to see that there is no freedom of speech here. Even my Facebook, by the way, has been blocked again for another 30 days. There is no freedom whatsoever. The liberals are the worst censorship mongers ever. I mean, they are the ones who really use the censorship in the way the Vatican has always used it, because the school of censorship comes from the Vatican. They are the mothers and father of all censorship in the world.
Yes.
And nowadays, unfortunately, then this is being transmitted to the model of the social networks, where they also have their own form of censorship. And also you have censorship from the media. No Italian media will ever have me at the moment, because for them it's always risky if I'm in diretta, if I'm live. That is very risky for them. So the only times sometimes like a month ago, I was 3 weeks ago on La Sette on a program in the afternoon as, of course, one of the Trump's representatives here in Italy. And before that, on the 20th of January, Rai 2 came and they made a little documentary to, because they had to, because it was in Palazzo Ferraioli, which, as you know, is in front of the parliament.
Yeah.
And we had the most important people coming to this event. We even left out a cardinal and a leading politician like Giacchetti. Wow. So I mean, we had a very good event there, and we had another very good event in Via Sallustiana in front of the American Embassy. All of this proves there is a lot of interest for these topics, but I repeat, like you said, a lot of censorship, unfortunately, from the regular media. And in Italy, at the end, I'm not. I can't really be free of saying the same things I can often say in the US.
Yes, listen, Leo, I appreciate it again. And that was Leo Zagami from Rome, Italy, and this is Luca Zanna. We little break. We have a little Zanna coffee break, and then of course we go back. More guests, more show, and you're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. Do not go away.
Hey, you. Yes, I'm talking to you. You deserve a break. Enjoy a moment of indulgence. It's time for Zanna Coffee. Guilt-free pleasure. Zanna Coffee is the organic coffee to amplify your senses and enhance love for life, liberty, and the pursuit of happiness. Only the best organic and GMO-free coffee beans from around the world that I selected. Zanna Coffee brings you happiness in every cup. Fair trade certified, sustainable organic coffee. That means we do not use slaves. Free Zanna songs with every coffee bag. Find Zanna Coffee at www.zannacoffee.com. www.zannacoffee.com. Get your coffee bag now. Don't be cheap. Life is too short and you deserve the best. Zanna Coffee.
Okay, back into the studio. This is Luca Zanna. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom on K-Talks 1340 AM. There was a great interview with Leo Zagami from Rome, Italy. I really like Leo. I mean, he's kind of a very interesting man, I must tell you. This stuff, it is not just a bunch of BS. People may think, oh my God, what is this? Illuminati, and they're real secret societies that they've been going on for centuries. I say since the beginning of humanity almost. But the point is, what Leo is kind of an interesting situation, because normally you don't get this type of information from people of his level. And the fact that he wrote all these books, he was able to say at least part of what's going on and why this is so important. Because we must know really who's been behind the scenes of the last few centuries in this world. You think governments are just the end game? No, the governments are just the face. The point is who controls the governments. And this is still happening. And there's struggle of powers. I'm not saying that all the Illuminatis are bad and all are good. I tell you, honestly, I don't like normally secret societies. I don't like anything secret. But the point is, this has been going on. And it is true. Empires, wars, they all been manipulated by an elite group of people. And if we do not understand that, we will never understand what's going on even in Washington, or in Europe. This is not just a bunch of crazy politicians being, crazy and start to do policies that make no sense. They're following an agenda. It's a global agenda. In this case, an agenda to destroy humanity, to enslave humanity. And I believe generally that people like him, Leo, even, of course, is part of this secret society, is trying to warn, try to almost, expose the evil side. I mean, our founding fathers, they were part of secret societies. I mean, they were Masons, and there are different levels of Masons. If you're a Christian, that's fine. I understand. You may not be compatible with Masonry, even if you think whatever. But the point is, it's not about religion now. It's about that it's been happening, and it's true. And even, the Masons, the letters, just go and find out the letters by George Washington, warning how, the Jacobinism, they were trying to infiltrate the Masonry in the U.S., in the new formerly United States. And there was very subversive form. And this is still going on. So I'm happy to bring you this information, because I think it's something we need to go deeper sometime to find out really why things are so crazy. Now, another important thing. You heard about Trump, and more important about Congress, Republican Congress, completely disregarding the will of the people to abolish Obamacare. I mean, nobody asked to replace it with something similar. The idea was that now we have Congress, Republican Congress, Senate, Republican Senate, the President, Republican President. There is no more excuse. If now they cannot do what they're supposed to do, this is show and prove exactly that this is all a fraud. And this has been a fraud. I mean, people like Paul Ryan, people like McConnell, people like, McCain, people like, Bonner. I call it Bonner for a reason. He's a Bonner. They proved the point that they were just the complete fraud, the false opposition. I mean, Obama wasn't allowed to raise, our debt to 20 trillion almost because he's cute. That is not cute at all. He's a monster. He was doing that. He was able to do that because people like Ryan or Bonner and many other congressmen, they let him do it. That's a fact. So they're all part of the same game. Coming back to the Illuminati, who controls them? It's a false opposition. Now, there is no excuse. I'm disgusted with this Obamacare. Nobody asked him to replace it with a new Republicare or with the Ryan Care. That is exactly the same, just with a different name. We want it completely burned. I mean, all they need to do, Congress, they need to get a gallon of gasoline, get these 10,000 pages of Obamacare, put it in a public square in Washington, and burn it. Simple as that. And I'm very disgusted with my fellow Americans that they somehow support the ACA, the Affordable Care Act. Affordable for who? And I need to control my language here. I'm on the radio. I would like to call you every name on the book because you are disgusting. Let me tell you why. If it's maybe affordable for you, it's been a disaster for the many of us. How do you feel going sleeping at night? When, for example, my insurance, I used to pay, I never asked for anybody. I came here to America. I was flat broke, for God's sake. Not even the money to have a coffee at Starbucks sometimes. Guess what? After the second month I was here, I was already with my own plan, insurance plan. Maybe it wasn't the best plan, but I was able to take care of myself, and I was broke. My last insurance I had before Obamacare with Humana, I was able to pay $135 a month. It was a good plan. I don't go to doctors unless for emergency. I had $5,000 deductible, I think even less, and it was 100% cover. Good plan. For me, it was great. Guess what? The same plan right now, if I supposed to get it, it cost me $600 a month. So some leeches like you can get their free stuff. I have more respect, for God's sake, for a bank robber out there. For, somebody commits bank robbery, I have more respect. You know why? At least he goes to work for his money. At least he risks his life. He risks a bullet in his head, for God's sake, to steal. You spineless piece of crap, you don't even risk anything. You just somehow go and send out in front of you these politicians, Republicans and Democrats, doesn't matter. By the way, they're not even working for you. They're working for corporations, because at the end, that's what we're really benefiting out of this. They're destroying the market, the free competition, and they're overcharging us. Meanwhile, so you can get your little free stuff. And meanwhile, our economy is going to toilet. Business are shutting down. And people like me, they have to say, oh my God, I'm pretty lucky. What if I had 5 kids? Some people had to now spend most of their money just mortgage and life insurance and health insurance. So think about that. How do you go back sleep at night? They want to fix this problem? Burn the Obamacare. Obama. It's abominable. And let the free market do its job. If before I was able to pay $135 a month when there were still restrictions between state lines, what if really we have free market? They would go even lower. Everybody should be able to buy $100 a month insurance. It could happen. $100 a month, yes, can happen. If that's too much for you, you're a real loser. It's a former immigrant like myself, with no degree in nothing, with not even speaking English, I was able to pay my insurance. I think you should be able to, if you're not all born American. So stop being a leech, stop being a parasite, stop hiding behind the mom or government. That all it does is steal from us to give to corporations, and they give you a little bit of sprinkling of freebies to you, just to make you feel good. It's not even for you. Most of it goes back to the corporations. That's what it is, a fascism. Idiots, and parasites. I'm so disgusted. And I'm disgusted with the Republican Party, you have no idea. And Trump, don't get me wrong, he's been doing so much in the last 2 months, 3 months. I mean, he cannot do it all. He still needs Congress. All I know that this system, it will implode. It will fail. Obamacare cannot sustain anymore itself. Maybe what Trump is trying to do now. I don't know. All I know that still, if I had to pay Humana, I would pay now $600 a month for an inferior plan. So somebody on Facebook could say, oh, please, Trump, don't trade on me. Don't trade on my ACA. Go grow some balls, go to work, and make your money, and stop being a parasite. And, you're really pathetic. That's what I'm telling you. And I'm not even a Republican. I hate Republicans, for God's sake. I really do. People like Paul Ryan, I would rather vote for a snake before I vote for Paul Ryan. Would be the last politician in this aisle. Seriously. So don't tell me that I'm the Republican right wing, because I couldn't care less about Republicans, and I don't care about Democrats anyway, for sure. I care about that stealing is not right. I care that I go to work in the morning, at 4 o'clock in the morning I get up. Sometimes I work 16 hours a day, and leave me the heck alone. Okay? I'm not going to pay for your freaking abortion or, condoms or whatever you are. Seriously. Anyway, let me calm down. Ready for our number 2, all about guns. You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna. And please, don't forget to drink Zanna coffee, okay? ZannaCoffee.com. All right, guys. See you on our number 2. Sorry, sometimes I lose it, but, this is pretty much normal. Think about it. Many people lost their life, not just their homes. Don't go away.
You're listening to Love, Guns, and Freedom with Luca Zanna on United States.fm network.